Hey scholars, welcome back. It's our last day of reading together this week, and we've been talking all week about the civil rights movement led by Martin Luther King Jr. and how they're fighting and protesting peacefully for equal rights for Black and white people. So yesterday we started this book together called Let the Children March, and you guys got the chance to write about if you would choose to join these children in their march. So we're going to continue reading today. Let's go ahead and talk about where we left off. So after we read yesterday, our children had started to march. Thousands of children, it says, came together with their signs to peacefully protest and march in place of their parents. Because remember, their parents, if they went on this march, they could have lost their jobs, they could have been injured or hurt, and these children decided to take a brave stand and to do this in place of their parents. Because remember, these children were facing the same kind of problems where they were being affected by these Jim Crow laws and where they weren't able to do the same thing that white kids could do. So they decided that it was their responsibility to take a stand and to stand up for those rights that they believed they needed to have. So let's go ahead and jump back in together. Remember yesterday, this is right where we finished as our children began to march. So let's go ahead and let's finish up our book together and let's see what happens to these children as they march and as they continue to fight against these unequal laws, the Jim Crow laws. Oopsies. Hate dogged my heels all that day. Its yellowed canine teeth sharp, but courage walked by my side and kept me going. Disperse or you'll be jailed, the police shouted the first day. Disperse or you'll get wet, the police shouted the second day. Disperse or we'll release the dogs, the police shouted the third day. We did not disperse. Disperse means to go out or to go away. So if they're in a big crowd marching together, disperse means for them to separate and for them to stop marching together as a crowd. We did not disperse. We did not go apart. We kept on marching. We wouldn't stop until things started to change. Wow, so already we were talking about how there was going to be some danger for these kids if they decided to march. And we're seeing that already. They're saying that these kids can get thrown in jail. They're saying that they can get wet. I see right here the police spraying this poor group of kids with this hard water. And disperse or we'll release the dogs. So they're threatening to even hurt them with these police dogs that are coming after them. All this, and these children are still choosing to march, to stand up for what they believe is right. Hundreds of us went to jail on the first day, and even more on the second. My turn wasn't until the third day. After I was sprayed by water stronger than anything I've ever felt, rough hands pushed me forward, and I fell to my knees in the police wagon. I was going to jail. Dr. King reassured our parents. Don't worry about your children, he said. They're going to be all right. Don't hold them back if they want to go to jail, for they are doing a job for not only themselves, but for all of America and for all mankind. Wow, so just what we were thinking about how dangerous this might be, I think that we were right. Because remember, these aren't adults, these are children. They're the same age as you, many of them. It'd be like you and your siblings deciding to go and march. And they knew that they could get thrown in jail, but they didn't care because they knew that this was the right thing to do. And sure enough, a lot of these kids were being taken to jail. just for peacefully protesting. That night, crowded into a cell too small for even half of the kids, we sang, "We shall overcome. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, and freedom is coming." Our parents couldn't be there with us, but still we sang, wrapped in the proud and loving arms of our ancestors. Wow. So I want us to stop right here, and I want you to put yourself in the shoes of these children who were at the Freedom March. Now, yesterday you wrote about whether or not you would decide to march with them for these equal rights. These rights that were going to be the same for Black people and white people. And now, if you said that you were going to march, I want you to think about this. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to imagine, how would you feel if you were one of these children, if you were 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, and you were thrown into jail because you were asking for the right thing, and you had to stay there all night without your parents, and just how scary that might be. I want you to think about how you would feel if you were those children. I'm imagining that if I were the Freedom March children, that I would be scared. I would probably be angry and frustrated, but I would also probably feel very proud that I knew I was doing the right thing, that I was standing up for what I believed in, and that people were noticing me, and that people were noticing what we were fighting and protesting for. I was still in jail, but we heard that the next day and the next, more kids marched. The water hoses they used to sting us could not stop our fierce tide. The path may be long and troubled, but I'm gonna walk on. So even though these kids are being shot with water and being run after by dogs, and many of them are going to jail, there are still all these children who are lining up to march, who are saying we deserve the same rights, and we are going to peacefully protest for our parents and for all Black people to ask for those same rights as white people. Now, I'm noticing this looks very familiar. This reminds me of when we read the Ruby Bridges book, and when Ruby was walking into her school and all of these angry white people stood outside her school with these mean signs and yelled at her. And it looks like that's what's going on here, because I see all of these people with their signs, and it looks like they have angry faces and that they're yelling at the children who are marching. I can't imagine how sad that would make me feel to be marching and to have people yell at me and call me ugly names. Turn the other cheek, we had been taught. Show love where there is hate. The world watched as hate bruised us, but for 7 days we walked only in love. The jails swelled to bursting, and even President Kennedy took notice. Daddy said the president received letters and calls about us from all over the world. Our march would become a memory, a small part of a larger story. But we had been heard, and the seeds of revolution were sown. So they're saying that people are starting to notice them. People are noticing these children who are in the Freedom March. And they might be noticing these children even more because they're young. They're not adults. They're children who are being thrown in jail and who are even being hurt for their protest and for being peaceful. And so people around the whole world are noticing what's happening. And they said even the president is noticing. 2 days and nights I stayed in the jail. Some stayed even longer. When I left, I was tired and sore, and my best dress was ripped. But my smile was as wide as the Mississippi River. I had made a difference. I'm so proud of you, baby girl, Mama said. Your march was what made them see. With nothing more than our feet, voices, and courage, we had done what others could not. Change was right around the corner. We felt it like a cool breeze in an Alabama August. On May 10th, the great news rang out. Dr. King had reached an agreement with the white leaders of the city. Desegregation would begin. Now let's look really quick at this word, desegregation. Now we've talked about how segregation is when the white people and black people had to be separate. So when they put this prefix on there, D, that's telling us that it's going to be the opposite of segregation. So desegregation would begin. That means that they're going to start to stop the segregation. That it's going to start to change, that white and black people won't have to be separate anymore. The change is beginning. And these children truly made a difference with their march. 1 month later, I was playing on a playground I'd never been allowed to play on before. 2 months later, my family ate at a diner we'd never been allowed to eat in before. Our march made the difference. We children led the way. Singing the songs of freedom, 1,000 strong we came. And that's the end of our book, scholars. These children were able to make a difference. And now we see these white children and black children on the same playground. It says that they were able to eat at a diner or a restaurant that they couldn't go to before because they were black. And it was all because of their courage and their strong beliefs that change happened. Now on this page, I'm going to show you really quick. These are some real pictures from the real Freedom March. And we see like this hose, these children really were being sprayed and hurt with this water. Here's some more pictures of the children who actually marched. And I see a policeman in the background here. These children are lined up to go to jail. So scholars, this was a true story about some students and some children who made a big difference in that civil rights movement. So today, for your writing, I want you to think about both of the books that we've read this week. I want you to think about Rosa Parks, and I want you to think about these Freedom March children. So for your writing today, you're going to be writing about how Rosa Parks and how the Freedom March children were change makers. Now, you might want to write more about Rosa or more about the Freedom March children. It's your choice, but you're going to be writing all about how they were change makers in our country and how they fought for equal rights for all people. I can't wait to read your work, scholars. Hope you do an awesome job.